Good morning. I have a new razor to me that I'm shaving with today. And what it looks like is, at first glance, is a vintage UK Gillette 15. You know, one of the few open combs that have that are the cool Aristocrat type. But it's gold, and all the 15s were, as far as I know, like rhodium plated or, you know, a silver color, a chrome color. And so, you know what that makes this one is one of the first TTOs, twist to open, one of the first TTOs made. And so that's what they based the UK Aristocrats off of. This is the Gillette 1934 Aristocrat, and this is a US model. I don't know why these didn't take off in the US, but they made them in 34 and also 36. Of my reading indicated that the only way to tell them apart is the curvature. Somehow it's different between the 34 and the 36. So this is the 34, I've been told, and so it's the first TTO ever brought to market. And it just, I really like this style, belonging to most of the UK Aristocrats. This one's weighted a little bit differently, a little bit more head heavy. The handle is hollow, so that probably contributes to that a little bit. But I'm looking forward to shaving with it. One thing to look out for when buying used open combed razors is the look on the corners for the teeth. And this one happens to have one tooth right there that's bent down just a little bit. The corner one, you know, is probably dropped. In a lot of cases, you should not try to adjust the teeth, because, especially the thin ones, because they tend to just snap off. I'll do some research, definitely some good research, before I might attempt to adjust this one, and I may never. A lot of times it doesn't affect the shave, but we'll see. We'll see. Sometimes if it's on the corner, if it makes the blade exposed a little more, but sometimes it doesn't. The brush we're using today is my same one yesterday, the Stirling Finest Badger. Nice soft tips. It's been soaking for just a minute or two. And this is a CravingShaving handle that I really enjoy. Stick it back in the water. And the water I'm using today, as usual, at this location, is hard water, and it's tepid. My old Nacet is going to be on the docket for today, and he has had 164 uses. So today is 565. The soap for today is a one that I got as a part of a large purchase, and pretty rare. Hard to get soap, especially these days, because this one's been out for a couple years. 2017 is when it came out. Bufflehead Velvet Ditch. And the scent notes on this one, they called it a Southern-inspired Chypre. And this one hasn't been used too much, as you can see. Probably scooped once and then used once or twice. Magnolia. Yeah, I can get that magnolia scent from it. Pecan. Yeah, if I'm looking for it, I can find the pecan. And then all Chypres, it's a classification of perfume or scent. They have, they need to have kind of a citrus top note, and this has got a bit of lemon in there. It's hard to tell when dry, at least. And then a kind of in the base, you got some patchouli. I can see there's something there that's doing that job, and it's probably doing it well, and it's blended well, so it's hard to pick out exactly. But I'm sure that's there too. Yeah, I got it right then. So very cool. We'll talk about more of what makes up a Chypre as we're lathering up. All right, a little water on my face. That is my pre-shave routine. That works for me. It may not work for you, but it works for me. We're going to take the Nacet out. Show it to you. Here's the clean side that I'm using as the top. And then here's the bottom side. It's got the X over here in this corner over here. I'm going to put the X face down. As you, if you're a frequent watcher, you know that it's kind of an experiment that I'm doing. At the end, I'm going to flip it over and see if there's a difference. And so there we go. That's the magic right here. Back in 1934 or so, this is what guys wanted to do. Put a blade in the razor and then close it up, because prior to this, and the twist of, there we go. Prior to this, they would have to disassemble the razor. It was a 3-piece or something to that effect, 2-piece, and then they had to assemble everything. So this is the magic of the open barn doors, the butterfly option, if you will. All right, so let's load up. We'll do 30 seconds. I forgot how long my last Bufflehead soap needed to be loaded, so we'll just shaking most of the water out of my brush. All right, oh, 32, that's a good number. So we'll just mix until we get to 02. A little bit of water in the brush, causing some foam to come up right away. It's all right. And there we go. I got a feeling I'm gonna have lots of lather with this. And I'm gonna rinse the sides of the bowl here. All right, so let's start mixing my computer printed lather bowl that was gifted to me by a generous viewer. I enjoy using it. The files are linked to the description of this video if you want to print them yourself, if you have access to a printer. One teaspoon in. So a Chypre, I did some looking on Wikipedia at least. Chypre is a cord, kind of a cord that's kind of standard because it's just really popular. It gets and I can, the fragrance here, the magnolia is coming up to me. A little bit of lemon. Is composed of a citrus top note. So that's kind of the high note that kind of maybe hits you first. Then in the middle, the Wikipedia said labdanum, and that's similar to ambergris. And I just found out something I learned today was that labdanum is used a lot in place because it's very similar to ambergris. There's a plant in, I think, the Mediterranean or something where labdanum is it's made from. It's condensed and distilled or whatever, you know, and you get labdanum, and it's kind of a almost a woody or dry musk type of scent. Animalistic. It's where a lot of perfumers get their amber scent, and ambergris is the one that it's kind of replacing, and some companies have banned ambergris because it comes from the sperm whale. Now, as far as I know, it comes from secretions and output of the sperm whale, and so I don't think the sperm whales are being harmed by the harvesting of the ambergris, but maybe it's being banned just because it's possible that, you know, some poachers, or it might increase the poaching of the sperm whale. if it's used very much. That'd be my guess. I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be harvested from sperm whales, but I don't remember that from my initial research on that. So labdanum is often used apparently in that. And so that's the middle note, kind of as the basic chypre formula. And then something like oak moss, or in this case I believe the patchouli is acting as the oak moss kind of thing, to ground out or to be the base note of the scent. And so that's kind of a basic chypre. So they've added the floral note of the magnolia for this one, and the woody note comes partly from the pecan as well, and obviously the citrus is the lemon. I remember in the beginning of my wet shaving when I had discovered the forums, and of course you start hearing about the different releases from Bufflehead and how popular they were, and how the 75 soaps or however many he was able to make would sell out in just 2 minutes, you know, or something like that. And indeed, I tried to get Fletcher. That was within my time space, and but I didn't get any. I got it in my cart, but it didn't make it all the way. And that's pretty standard for a lot of people because it just sells out so quickly. So Velvet Ditch came out before my time slightly. But I remember reading about it and thinking, that might be a good one for me to try to get. But it never happened at all. Okay, let's show you what this lather looks like. Holding his shape pretty well, pretty firmly. Good bit of soap, good bit of lather here. A little finger test. Don't think I want to go too more. I don't know. Yeah, I probably want to add a little bit more water. Feels like it needs it. So we've got 3.5 teaspoons in now. That magnolia floral scent is definitely what is forward about this scent, but I'm not sensing that it's really feminine. Probably because of the you know, the pecan, the woodiness, the citrus is a neutral. And then the patchouli is really nice. I'm glad that now look, this is hanging up on the top of the wall real easy. A lot of times that means you need to keep adding water. See, that's thinning down even more, so I'm not going to add any more water. I'll just go with it. Could be that this soap needs to be a little drier than I usually like mine, and so I may have wet it. Got a little too wet, but we'll see. All right, we'll splash on the face. And this is the second time now that I'm using my Stirling brush after I had to repair the knot and reset it because it came loose, started moving a little bit. I set mine with silicone, so it was really easy to yank it, clean out the old silicone. Yeah, this lather is not working out that great. It's too thin. I think I watered it too much. Maybe this soap needs me to add it a little slower, I don't know. It says it seems too thin, but it's really kind of a high structure soap. It's like I showed you, it's hanging out on the walls there. A lot of times that's an indicator that you need to keep hydrating, but maybe not with this soap, huh? Well, I'm a Southern boy, and so I appreciate this accord, like my pecans. Do a little bit more scrubbing to clean up the skin and get the soap under those hairs, maybe get them to stand up a little bit more, maybe. All right. So I've kind of had some varying experiences with the Bufflehead lathers lately. The first one I tried maybe 3 weeks ago or something, it was magical. I could see it was just so, the duck fat, you know, that's one of his things, and that's why it's called Bufflehead, because he uses duck fat. But I could just see how people would love it, because I was getting a really good experience from the slickness, and then the next time I used it, it was kind of more average. It didn't have as much slickness, but it was very good. And I believe that was the I can't remember what that was. I don't know which one that was. The most recent one that I tried. And then this one here is kind of being really all tall and puffy, you know, kind of high structure, where it looks dry, but if I add more water, it thins out. Well, in a fairness, this is not a good comparison for this razor, because I am using it with a 160 something use blade, you know, but it did just fine. A little tuggy, but that's really to be expected. And it's time to rinse. All right, let's lather up. Second pass. So let's pay attention this time to the way the brush feels. Right now it's a little easier to splay than before, so maybe it's widening out, loosening up just a little bit. Nice soft tips, and you definitely get a feel of a lot of tips, and so that's good. You want a lot of that softness. It does feel like it's, you know, it got some medium backbone to it to be able to keep those tips in line, keep them stuck to your face, so you keep feeling them, able to stir up a good lather from, you know, about any soap. A massagey kind of feel if you need that. Add a little bit more soap since it's kind of thin and airy. There we go. So the scent is very available during the shave, and it's mostly that magnolia, but it is tempered by those other ingredients, and so I think I like it. I think I like the scent. Cross grain now, just lightly holding the razor. Since this was an open comb, I thought, hey, this might be a good, instead of throwing in a new blade, to test the new razor. And since it has a nice curvature to the blade, I thought it might be a good time to keep it going, keep the Nacet going with it. Now, as always, I'm going to say, or as I always hope to say, I'm going to remind you that the Nacet is not the super blade that will let everybody, you know, get to 100 and something shaves. It just happens to be working for me. And it's the first blade that I've ever marathoned like this. And I've got a Gillette Silver Blue, over 30 uses. I've got a Feather, 35 uses. I think those are my two kind of next in line. Those are coming along great. So I don't know how many other blades are going to be, you know, really long life blades for me, but the first one has been the Nacet. And I had a nice, pretty creamy rinse the first time, so that's really good. All right, third pass. Don't really need to do too much scrubbing. I've got a magnolia tree outside my garage. And so maybe some of this scent is just ringing true for me in terms of just being outside. Though I don't recall really getting too much of a scent from it. But it's probably just there, you know, and you just get used to it. Cross grain again is the third pass. Very comfortable and smooth. Definitely think I added a little too much water for this mix. But as a tribute to its status as a very good soap, it has given me a good shave despite being too thinned down. And some people may, in fact, actually like it at this thinness. But I'd prefer backing off a little bit on the water next time. Let's take a look at my little... Hey, that's cut pretty well. That's kind of surprising. That might be even better than my Sheraton, which happens to just be kind of a magical combination. I started maybe in the 90s in terms of use count with this Nacet blade, and the Sheraton, I started with the Sheraton at that point, and I realized it was just terrific. And so the Sheraton has lasted me from the 90s all the way to, you know, 160 or so, and it's been a terrific razor to use. All right, so I'm going to rinse off and then check a look, do a little inspection. And wow, this is the best razor so far with my Nacet being this old. And if that's true, I should revisit my other open comb Aristocrat. Give that a try. Probably has similar geometry to the Sheraton, but I don't have any irritation at all, and I have a nice close cut, especially even on my trouble spot. So big win. That's really good for this blade. So what, 165 now? Yeah, 165 uses now. I'm trying to see if I can get to 200 by the end of August, because August last year is when I started using this blade, roughly, and so that'll be really cool if in the same anniversary month I could hit a landmark with it. I was getting a little discouraged last few shaves with the different razors, including the Sheraton, because it just wasn't giving me the closeness. I had to really hit like 4 passes on the whole face and then an extra touch-up pass right here, and I was getting concerned that it had reached a different plateau of dullness. But this guy had the right geometry, or who knows, maybe my technique was different. Maybe the soap, I mean, who knows, maybe this thin soap may not have given me that creamy feel, but maybe it still gave me a nice close shave. Maybe that's what I needed. Who knows? Got some variables at play, so sometimes it's tough to know which exact variable is the one that helps you. All right, well, I've got enough soap here for another couple passes. So 30 seconds. You know, I'd probably stick with 30 seconds next time because I'd add a little bit less water. So that will give me just a little bit less lather, and I like to have some margin. So I think 30 seconds is about right. I like the Stirling brush. Again, it's loosening up a little bit more, and I think I'm happy with it. I think I'm going to keep that one around. It probably slowly loosen up just a little bit more gradually over the next several shaves, and I think that'll just put it in a good place. I do like my really poofy, really soft backbone silver tip kind of brushes. This is a finest Badger brush. The silver tips are different. This is a 2-band. The silver tips are usually 3-band. And just a quick introduction here, 2-band, you can see the black, the dark color goes pretty much from the handle all the way to the tips, and then the tips are the lighter color. With a 3-band, this band of black is smaller, and you can see a lighter color for maybe about half the knot before you get to that black band, and so, or the dark colored band. I guess it's just a dark brown, really dark brown. But that's the difference between a 2-band and a 3-band. The 3-bands are taken from a different part of the Badger. They don't have as much backbone. And I like that a lot of times because, man, the feel on the face is just luxurious. It's terrific. But then sometimes these tips here just feel a little softer almost. And so it's just a different feel. Who knows, in a year I may change. I may definitely prefer this kind of knot with a little bit more backbone, but nice soft tips, good scrub, you know, that sort of thing. No scritch at all on this brush. No scratchiness at all. Very soft. All right, so I'm going to clean things up, continue doing that, and also look for some post shave to use. All right, for post shave, since we have kind of a slight woody note in this accord, I brought out the Whiskey Woods from Clubman. It's really the only Clubman scent that I enjoy. I mean, the only Pinaud aftershave that I really enjoy. Very little stinging at all because that blade is just smoothed out so much. And so it's just not cutting up my skin. But guess what? It's still cutting hairs. So those guys who say that after 3 uses, they have to throw their blade away, it's probably not true. You just have to change your standards just a little bit, maybe. Change your technique a little bit. Who knows? Anyway, I'm doing this. I'm continuing with this Nacet out of pure scientific curiosity. How many shaves can it possibly give me while still being relatively comfortable and also being a close shave, an acceptable close shave. And so whenever that's done, I'll stop. But I'm doing it also to just help people to understand that they don't have to stop at 3 uses or 7. A lot of people just have been given that advice as a part of their wet shaving education, and it's just not true. In many, many cases, you can go a lot farther than that. Sometimes you step into a nice zone of smoothness, and you miss that if you only shave with the blade 2 or 3 times. You miss that, and it's an enjoyable time, especially if you have more aggressive razors that you like to use, but often they're a little harsh for you. This is taking a blade longer than it's past 12 or 15 shaves is going to let you be able to use those more aggressive razors with this smoothed out blade, and it's terrific. I was able to do that with my Charcoal Goods Behaved level 2. Was very aggressive for me with the normal blades, with blades under 10 uses or so, and my what else? The higher plates in my Carve Christopher Bradley. I wasn't able to use really the E plate at all before, but I was able to enjoy that with the smoothed out older blade. So definitely some razors that I appreciated using it with. So here's how the Stirling Finest looks after being stropped on the towel and dried out a little bit. Still tips very soft. definitely gotten big and poofy since last couple of uses. I'm really enjoying it. So the scent strength on this, on the Magnolia while it was being used, it was very around me, very available, part of the environment as I was shaving. So I'd give it like a 6 or a 7 in terms of scent strength during the shave. It didn't hang around too long after the shave though, which is fine with me, because I move on to the aftershave for sure. But it was nice and strong and enjoyable. It was strong and enjoyable. The other day I used Irish Fern from Wickham, and I think that might have been a little too strong, a little too much. But this one was very enjoyable, very nice. And I think that maybe the woodiness and the patchouli and the pecan really helped too, and the labdanum, if there is some, that type of ingredient. Hopefully he put that in there since he called it a chypre. Whether it's labdanum or he probably doesn't have an ingredients list on here. No, he doesn't. Whether it's the ambergris or the labdanum, but if there's a note like that in there, then that's also helping to mellow out the Magnolia. And so I've enjoyed the scent. I'm really happy about that. So I did use 3.5 water. Next time maybe 2.5 or 3 would be the stopping point. I'll put in my notes. So let's do a little razor tour at the end of this video. And I guess we're there now, so why not? So this is the 1934 vintage Gillette Aristocrat, made in the US. And I suppose it's possible that the person who sold it to me could be mistaken. It's really a 36. I don't know. But we'll just say it's a 34 for argument's sake. And it got along great. I love these Aristocrats in this design. Most of them are made in the UK after this one. But I really enjoyed those, and so I knew I would enjoy this, and it did not disappoint at all. It handled an old blade with many uses on it really well, and the subsequent shaves after the first one were very enjoyable, and I fully expect and kind of know that the tugging that was there in that first pass is totally due to the blade and not the razor. So I'm confident this is going to be a smooth and efficient razor, just like so many of his brothers. So 1934 Aristocrat. Notice some of the later models would have the center bar that's inside there. They would let him come out, and I believe it's because it's just so easy for these doors to become a little bit misaligned. And as you can see right there, because of the reflection, this one is slightly misaligned. I don't think I'm going to try to fix that. And so we've got some good conditioning on the doors there. Not very many issues. Now this one does have patent markings around the band here. Do we have patent number 1956175, for instance, and then a reissue patent number. And on the bottom, more patent information on the bottom band down here. And so I showed you that it was hollow, and we definitely have the open comb. Some of the early razors had the T right here, and I believe that's it looks like they came out with just the main rail here first, and then later on they came up with the little flanges right here to really help the blades stay in perfect alignment. And then they decided to do this gimmick where you were supposed to be able to take a cartridge of the blades, and then they would put a notch on each end right here, and then you could pull the blade out with the razor and never really have to touch it, like a safety gimmick. And it didn't really last very long as a gimmick, but it did make that notch stay in many razors. And so it's neat that this one doesn't have that notch at all, so that kind of helps to confirm the dating as well, that it was after that time. Man, this one's nice and clean inside. Really good. And so there we go. Over the end caps here, there are no end caps that have been soldered over this. You can see the rivets, and that's true of my Sheraton as well. So those are a couple things to look for in the old vintage razors. It just twists down like that, and there's the curvature. I think it looks really cool, even if it's slightly misaligned. I think the ones with the solid barn doors that don't have the rail in the middle, I think they look really nice. So it's plated in probably the gold, and so take care in washing it. You'll have to do some research if you have one like this. See how thin, what kind of abrasives to use. Maybe you shouldn't use any at all. So definitely take care and do some research before you attempt any kind of polishing with these older razors. All right, well, I'm really happy with the way that went. The woody scent from the whiskey woods definitely works and is contributing to a nice environment after the Bufflehead, after the Velvet Ditch. So that's a good match in my opinion. We are a happy camper. So there we go. I hope there was something here for you, some kind of rare products today. Bufflehead's hard to get. You know, some people get really frustrated. They think it's a marketing ploy to sell more soap, but really, how can he sell more soap? He can only make so much. He's a one-man operation. He can't, you know, I mean, it would take him a very long time to make 400 or 500, you know, tubs of soap, and then, you know, sell them, and then that way more people might have a chance to get it. So he just makes it in batches and sells it. That's just all he can do. Please, if you can, take it easy on the guy. He's been harassed because of that. But he's a nice guy from what I've gathered. And just kind of doing the best he can. It's not his full-time job. He has a regular job, and he does this like on the off hours. And so it's just something to have a little income coming in. I believe Bufflehead is the one that said if you ever, he started this thing about a charity. If you want to pay him $100 for a tub of soap, then he will make whatever scent that you want. And he would take the $80 or whatever the proceeds are after the normal soap cost and give it to a charity. And so he's not making a profit off that. He's going to give it to a charity, but just that's his efforts in saying, hey, listen, let's do some good. And so if you're interested in a Bufflehead soap and it's really hard to get, maybe see if he'll take you, if you can take him up on that. That's pretty cool. All right. Well, we are, the whiskey woods, the woodiness is still floating around. I'm really enjoying, it's really working with that magnolia. That is really, I'm enjoying that combination. I'm gonna have to make a note of that. Really like that. All right, well, there we go. I hope there was something here for you. You take care. Have a good day. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves.